Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the Berny Model 2924. This is a new release from Berny. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but you guys know the deal by now. It's not going to sway my review one way or another. And if by the end of this review, as always, if you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description. That is an affiliate link. You guys don't pay any extra. I just get a little bit of commission, and that helps keep the channel running. So again, huge thank you goes out to anyone who's ever used those links, and even clicking on the link helps out. So yeah, I really do appreciate it. The retail price for this watch is around $62 US. That's before any taxes, sales, coupons, VAT, etc. Berny, they do participate in the sales, and they also offer a slight discount when you follow the store. So if you're going to purchase one of these or any Berny, make sure to follow the store. I believe it knocks off pretty close to $5 right off the bat. The watch comes in 5 different colorways that you can see here, and they also offer this in a full gold case for about an extra $5. The watch case is made of stainless steel. They have a mineral crystal, a push-pull crown, a snap-on caseback, 30 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Japanese VJ21C quartz movement. So my current favorite tank-style watch is the Oris rectangular, but at nearly $1,200 US, and that's from a third party, it's a lot to pay for a watch that I may only wear once or twice a year. Well, enter the Berny. It has a lot of the same design elements of that watch, but at a much more affordable price. But is it any good? Let's dig in, let's find out. But before we do a quick wrist check today, wearing the San Martin SN0129 lapis lazuli on a nylon strap. Absolutely loving this watch. Go check out the review or right up here. All right, so first things first, we'll talk about the dimensions. Got a width of 25.1 millimeters, a length of 39.2 millimeters, thickness of 7.3 millimeters, 18 millimeter lug width, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 2 links removed. It weighs about 82.5 grams. So I think the size for this style of watch is great. I really wish they would have gone 20 millimeter lug width, but that's mostly selfish. I think proportionally it's fine, but I just don't have any 20 millimeter or 18 millimeter straps. But I think the size of it is fine for a watch like this. I think it's going to wear good for a lot of people. You got that really nice slim profile, as you can see there. Nice little curvature to the case as well. Sorry about all the fingerprints. But yeah, this thing just, it's just going to vanish under a shirt cuff. And yeah, I think it looks really good. I think it wears really well. So I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist. And as you can see, I actually think the size is pretty nice. These rectangular watches, they do wear quite differently from a circular watch, so something to just keep in mind. I think the size is actually pretty good on this one. You can see there's lots of light play off of that case. That frame around the dial there is all polished, gives off a nice reflections. The bracelet is definitely not my style, but the bracelet's not bad, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. And here we are, kind of direct sunlight there. You can see reflections, a little bit of an issue, but really not that bad with this dial. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. You can see nice turn down to the lugs there. So this thing just kind of hugs the wrist and disappears. It's going to slip under a shirt cuff very easily. All right, let's get it off this bracelet here, throw it on some other stuff that I have. But my options are pretty limited, so just keep that in mind. And here we are on a Milanese mesh. I don't really think that looks great, so I'm going to go try and throw it on some other ones. And here we are on a black leather strap. This is a 19 millimeter strap, kind of stuffed into the lugs there. I don't have any good 18 millimeter straps, so yeah, strap show's going to be pretty short on this one, sadly. But I think that does look pretty good. And here we are on a brown leather strap. This is one just lifted off another watch, but just to give you kind of a look and see what it would look like on a brown strap. Not the strap that I would normally choose, but my 18 millimeter strap selection is very, very limited. So yeah, it's just something to give you an idea of what it would look like. But that's about it. Let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. All right, so let's talk about the case finishing on this thing. So case finishing is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces, and this is where the watch falls apart for me. This is one of the worst watches I've seen in a long time when it comes to the case finishing. They should have just fully polished this watch. I don't know why they felt they needed to brush it, especially when they're going to pair it with a fully polished bracelet. But that's beyond me. So yeah, they went with a brushed and polished surface here. You can see the top is brushed and the sides are polished. Now so where I see the issue is just the brushing. The brushing is very, I guess, muddled. It's just not very consistent. It's super satinized. And then you can see here, there's like no defined edge on it, as you can see. Like it's just not, I don't know. It just doesn't look great. You can see there's some bleed over on this edge over here. There's no real sharp or crisp lines on this thing when it comes to the transitions. Even over here, I mean, it's just kind of muddy. Like it's just mush almost. I don't know how to explain it. It's not great. That's all I'm gonna say. It's just not very great. Yeah, that's my main complaint with it. You got a push-pull crown here. It's unsigned. It's an octagon shaped one with a little nub on the end of it. It's a super tiny crown and it's hard to grip, hard to get any sort of feel for what you're doing. So yeah, it's just not, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I think it looks better on camera than it does in person. When I got this thing out, that was the first thing I noticed, is that the finishing on this thing was just not where it should be. And honestly, they should have just polished the whole thing and it would have been fine. Flipping it around to the case back, you just have a simple snap-on case back here with your Berny model number and a little bit of spec sheet there, fully polished. It is a curved case back, which is kind of cool to see. Again, really just hugs the wrist nicely. And I've got no complaints with the case back, but yeah, the finishing on this thing is just weird. I don't know why they decided to brush it. If they would have gotten rid of the brushing and just done full polish, the swing would have been fine. Alright, so let's talk about the crystal on this thing. Like I mentioned earlier, it is mineral crystal, so there's the sapphire test. So it is a mineral crystal, which is fine for a watch like this. You can see there it is curved. Looks pretty good. The reflections are pretty minimal because it's a curved mineral crystal, so I really don't have any issues with the crystal on a watch like this. At this price point, this style of watch, you're not going to be banging it around too much, so yeah, mineral crystal is fine for me. All right, let's get real close. We'll talk about the dial on this thing. So the dial is actually pretty nice on this. You can see you have a dual minute track printed around, one printed around the outside, one on the inside. You got little dots there. Those are not lumed. The lume on this watch, I'm not even going to show you guys. The lume is only on the hands and it's very poor. Yeah, I think they just did the hands this way just for visual contrast. They might as well have just used white paint. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Nothing else on the dial is loomed. So again, it was worthless for them to really lume the hands on this thing. You can see there, really tiny seconds hand ticking around. They do seem to align pretty good to all the markings, which is nice to see. The handset that they used on it, again, really tiny kind of sword style hands, but I think they look good. They fit the style of the watch. And the dial itself, everything is printed nice and crisp. I don't see anything that's, printed poorly. The dial itself, it's a very subtle sunburst black. Yeah, I think the dial on this thing actually looks really good. It's probably my favorite part of the watch. And they did a pretty decent job on it. I don't really know what else to say about it. Simple Berny branding at the 12 o'clock, quartz at the 6 o'clock. Yeah, it looks fine. I got no real complaints with the dial on this thing. It actually looks pretty good. All right, so let's talk about the movement in the crown. So the movement is the TMI, or Japanese VJ21C movement. It's a time-only three-hander movement, so no ghost date position, which is nice to see. Got about 3 years of battery life. I couldn't really find any specs on this thing as far as accuracy goes, but yeah, it's a pretty bog standard quartz movement. You can pick these up on AliExpress for like $3, so it's not a fancy movement, but it should be very reliable and accurate for a very long time. TMI is a part of the Seiko group. So like I mentioned earlier, it is operated by this 3 o'clock push-pull crown here. Pull it out to the third position there. It does hack the movement, as you can see, and this is where you set your time. The crown is just super small and super slippery. So thankfully it doesn't require too much effort to turn this thing, but yeah, they could have done something a little bit different with the crown. I don't know. Maybe it's just my fingers, I'm not sure, but I can't get a great grip on this thing. But again, it's one of those things where you mess with it once a year and that's pretty much it. So yeah, overall, I'm satisfied with the movement on this thing. It does everything you need it to do, I guess. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet on this thing. So the bracelet on this thing is weird. Again, I don't know why they went with this bracelet. It looks cheap just because it is fully polished. As you can see, it is a fully polished bracelet, 7 links. You do have female end links, you have straight end links, so it doesn't fit to the case nicely. It's 18 millimeters and it tapers down to 16 millimeters to a butterfly clasp. It's sized up with push pins. I had no problem sizing this thing. I removed 2 for my 7.5-inch wrist. Actually got a pretty decent fit on this thing. It's a little loose, but because it weighs so little, it doesn't really matter too much. So you should be able to get a pretty good fit on this thing, even without the micro adjust or anything like that. But yeah, the bracelet is actually surprisingly pretty good. There's not a whole lot of flex to it. There's not a whole lot of jangle to it. Fluidity wise, it looks and feels really good. This bottom edge is nice and soft, so it's a super comfortable bracelet, but it just looks cheap. It just screams cheap. They need some brushing on this thing to match the case, but in my opinion, they should have just dropped this metal bracelet for a nice leather strap, and it would have been a whole lot better in my opinion. As it is though, if you want it on a bracelet, this one's not bad. It does not have quick release, so that's a pain in the butt too. So just something to note. Yeah, the bracelet on this thing, they just made some odd decisions, that's all. So there you go, guys. That's my thoughts on the Berny 2924. I had high hopes for this watch. You know, I really like the Oris rectangular, and this looks a lot like it. The case looks a lot like it. The dial looks a lot like it. So yeah, I was pretty happy to see this one come out, and that's why I reached out to him and asked if I could review it. Sadly, they just made some odd decisions. Fully polished the case, dropped the bracelet, and put it on a nice leather strap, and this thing would have been awesome. Yeah, I mean, it would have given the Sanda Tank a run for the money. As it is, it's just not my favorite watch. That's all. Yeah, it's I don't know. They just made some odd choices. I wish they would do a version 2 on this thing, and you know, maybe I would consider buying that one. Fully polish that case, throw a nice brown or black leather strap on it, and call it a day. And I think a lot of us will be happy with it. So that's kind of my thoughts on the watch, guys. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.